Welcome back to the Quest of Desolation. Today we'll be recapping the events of Chapter 17, the Penultimate. Without further ado, let's go ahead and begin our recap. The Boudicca, the ship that Valaria is the captain of, runs aground in shallow water, in what should be a miles-deep ocean. A tumbling wave of water barreling towards our heroes as they brace for impact. The ocean now being pushed outward by the rising and sudden landscape around them. But surviving the rushing water, Nyx and Kualias know that the force generated here will send tsunamis and worse earthquakes across the globe. A pending mega catastrophe for all of Ilethia is imminent. To make matters complicated, a beam of energy on a distant horizon on now a foreign landscape draws our heroes, even after they take a night of rest. The following day, in the morning, our heroes hike miles further inland on now what Rayudrum recalls as the continent of Okoryox, a sudden, perhaps fifth continent of Ilethia, an unexplored place. Before they peek over a ridge and see a mile-tall dark tower in the center of a walled city-like location, it is here that purple lightning and a booming voice, which they recognize as none other than Metaseiulus, echoes across the region. "Rise, my children, rise," he says, as skeleton armies begin to push through the ground, and devils begin to enter through opened portal. Do your best to come alone. The voice taunts them. But another voice answers. Magnus Evermore. They are not alone. As he opens various time gates, permitting allies, armies, airships, and even deities alike, all arriving on a Koryox, outside of this city-like location, here to support our heroes as they make their final stand. Through a daring siege attempt, our heroes make a ground assault across a 2-mile stretch, trying to enter the shielded citadel ahead. Dragons swarm the area, and explosions of cannon fire ring out from both sides, but our heroes push further across the battlefield. Kualias launches a seismic arrow and breaks down the city gate, as our heroes now find themselves making a sprint for the tower, surrounded by enemy armies. However, the party gets separated. Nyx flies away with Kualias, Valaria, Atlasia, and Rayudrum, but Urgar and Dexter are left to load themselves into an arcane cannon and launch themselves across the citadel, barely surviving the attempt. Trixie, caught in a blink spell, narrowly manages to teleport across and catch up with her friends. But, rejoined once again at the base of the tall, dark citadel tower, our heroes glance around and find themselves in an empty arena as iron doors drop behind them. A door opposite of them is heard raising up as chains lift. A deafening roar silences our heroes as they wait with fear and anticipation for what horrible thing lies ahead. Stepping out from the shadows, 2 hulking beasts of ancient legend stalk towards our party in this empty, darkened arena. Tarask. These towering monsters of colossal force and prowess engage in a fight against our heroes. Quickly, our team does their best to analyze the situation, sending some to investigate the whirring machines on either side of the arena in the stands, while the others do their best to take on this threat. However, unlike the traditional legend, these monsters appear different, their scales sharpened, they appear purplish instead of muddied brown. And they soon find out that these creatures shoot beams of powerful plasma energy from their throats, and they have massive wingspans lifting them off the ground. When the situation turns dire, As Uragar is swallowed and many others are wounded, a plan begins to brew to bring down the caged roof of the arena overhead. Kuelias, Valaria, and Dexter plan and prepare, but Uragar finds a weak enough spot in the belly of the beast to have it regurgitate him and ultimately slay a Tarask. As the faint battle cries are heard around the citadel, their plan is thrown into action. But a new plan, not wanting to bring the roof of this arena down on themselves. Instead, Atlasia pries the mouth of one of the beast open, the last remaining one, with a force. And Nyx, thanks to an immense lightning blast from the goddess Umberly and a perfectly executed conduction plan, fires the forceful beam of electricity into the mouth and down the throat of the second Tarask, just as explosions from the nearby shield generators weaken the structure of the arena. For just a moment, outside the gate, a blue dragonborn and a green lizard look onward toward the party, but the gate then collapses. Making haste, our party moves to heal and regroup. They locate a small piece of metallic shrapnel, finding its purchase at the center of the now blown apart Tarask. Trixie investigates and notes that this is a remnant of Dominion, a piece of an armament of creation that Atlasia recognizes and once held. With the arena unstable, our heroes move up the tower, hitching a ride on the back of the draconically morphed Nyx, climbing the Citadel Tower via the long and winding spiral staircase. The stairs end on an open platform that is over 1,000 feet across. A slanted stone tower, though smaller than last seen, sits here. 2 other generators whirring away, in a sight that our heroes did not want to see. Archlich Tizaktic, who they recognize from their time in the Nine Hells, joined by his superior, Archlich Supreme Demonganorgus, along with the Demogorgon and a reincarnated pit fiend, Aerozath. But before another combat ensues, however, Demonganorgus looks onward and reveals how he is proud of the work done to report on everything that our heroes have accomplished. Looking around frantically, our party eyes Riz as he steps forward and mouths the words to them, "I'm sorry." The betrayal that Rayudrum predicted in the Plane of Chaos now coming to fruition as Riz is elevated and further transformed into a pit fiend, named Dralmakon. Now facing 5 powerful enemies, our already wounded party must take on another fight. As the battle rages on, our heroes devise various plans, taking down the additional shield generators, putting the 2 pit fiends to sleep via mass suggestion, overcoming their resistance to such charm, and trapping the monstrous Demogorgon in force cubes and roasting it to death with radiant energy. Uragar, though it does not take a moment to truly convince Tizaktic, honors his deal with an Archlich. And while the party does plan to blow up Tizaktic with the detonation of one of the generators, Tizaktic steps out of the lair tower after seemingly teleporting away. He casts Power Word Kill on Demonganorgus, making his final betrayal, and then tosses the phylactery of the same individual to Uragar, before entering the tower again and moving the entire tower into another plane. With Demonganorgus now destroyed by the powerful spell, our party picks up the 2 sleeping pit fiends and throws them off the edge of the citadel, where they fall to their ultimate death. They finish off the Demogorgon, recover another shrapnel of metal, another remnant of Dominion, and prepare for whatever comes next in this tower climb. Our party continues to climb the Dark Citadel Tower after Detective Dexter sprints back down in search of something frantically. Will he return? Well, that's a question for another time. Uragar undergoes a psychic break as his personalities fight for control over his mind, leaving this aspect of Uragar one that doesn't enjoy fighting or killing nearly as much and also sees wild hallucinations along the way. When our party follows the staircase upward, they are shocked to find a forest planted on the platform. The eeriness of this area puts the party on edge, but Trixie and Uragar go exploring above the treetops to find the next shield generators. However, due to Uragar's vivid hallucinations, cause him to drop Trixie. And this allows Trixie to get captured and dragged deeper into the woods while not being able to make a sound under the effects of silence. As our party searches for Trixie, they are then ambushed by various members of the Undershadows. With Trixie tied up and locked in a wall of force and silenced, our party races to locate and free her. But they must take on the Devil of the Red Serpent, Nightscale, who Nyx regards as Gallery, the Shadow Fist, the Woman in Black, and the Fragment, who all launch a strong offensive, forcing our party to divide and conquer, facing a few near-death experiences along the way. But with a daring plan, Nyx and Kualias cause an archer tower to collapse and feeble-mind Nightscale. Atlasia poisons the Shadow Fist with contagion. Trixie escapes from her bindings by dislocating her shoulder. Raedrum and Philaria make plays on the battlefield while Urgar reps out heavy damage against anyone that gets too close to him. But when vials of berserker drug known as Pranor enter use on this battlefield, there is a moment where our party faces a difficult situation. They are resourceful, however, and work together to pluck off the operatives one at a time until each one of them has been killed for good, to pay for what they had all done to them. All that remains now is Gallery, Nightscale, stuck in a state of weakened mind with Nyx preparing a plan that will hopefully save her as the party loots the fallen operatives and recuperates. They acknowledge that shield generators still need to be deactivated, and they need to find the next fragment of the armament of creation, the remnant of Dominion, before they continue up the tower. Undoubtedly even tougher enemies yet to come. The Glorious Bastards, notably Nyx, enact a plot to hopefully save Gallery by undoing the brainwashing of the Undershadows over many years. But when the spell goes horribly awry, the feeble mind vanishes, and Trixie and Gallery switch bodies. Philaria attempts to modify her memory based on Chondros Nyx's recollection of the day his life fell apart. She seemed like he had been reached, but all that changed when she stabbed Nyx in the stomach with a poisonous blade and tried to flee the scene. But she was stopped by Urgar, and she was forced to the ground as Raedrum and Atlasia narrowly saved Nyx's life. But without killing Gallery, the party cannot advance further up the tower. Gallery is left to strike a deal with Nyx, letting his companions go ahead of him, leaving him alone with Nightscale. The two take a seat across from each other, and what happens between the two remains a mystery to all except the two lizard folk. But Nyx, with haste, catches up with his party as they have entered a fight against the four heads of the Undershadows, Mr. C, Liston Goldvelt, Chakub Grimfang, and Cedric Baldridge. And they are also joined by Darknet leader ZZ Darkeye, of whom Trixie recognizes from her past. The combat is ruthless and deadly for unfortunate Urgar and Detective Dexter. But with careful manipulation of time magic, a few well-placed maneuvers, and a couple of counterspells, a bit of teamwork pushes our heroes to stand against this huge test and emerge victorious. Thankfully, they are able to revive Urgar after his death, but they are not so able to do the same for Dexter, in an unfortunate twist. Now left in the wake of victory, our heroes must move quickly to take down the shields and move up the tower once more. Off in the distance, Nyx watches as Umberly hurls a dragon turtle and takes down the outer shield wall, leaving only the tower still defended by a separate shield, but the city vulnerable to exterior attacks. And yet, greater threats lie ahead still. Recovering diamonds from the leftover energy fields around the now deactivated shield generators of this floor, in efforts to spare the life of the fallen Detective Dexter, a condensed time bubble of temporal energy, a short rest, and an accelerated raise dead spell ultimately saved the detective. Now gathering themselves and pushing onward, the party prepares for the next combat. Urgar drinks several resistance potions, gets hasted just before the combat starts, and Philaria enacts a temporal shift to mitigate the incoming damage, all in all boosting Urgar for several magnitudes, for about 10 minutes. As the group breaches onto the next floor, where the Citadel Tower now splits, one pinnacle continuing far up higher, and the rest another 200 to 300 feet. But in the middle of this area, a woman in a flowing red dress with long, straight white hair awaits them. After a brief exchange of words, This beautiful woman transforms into the raging Tiamat, goddess and queen of the chromatic dragons. Now pitted against literally divine forces, our heroes must make a desperate attempt to stay alive and try to deactivate the final two shield generators on this tower. Urgar does heavy blows to the Titan dragon goddess. She retaliates with breath weapons of huge caliber and comes close to killing many of the party. Raedrum and Dexter successfully shut off the shield generators while Trixie uses her last breath before death to take out the other one. As the energy barriers around the Citadel Tower crumble, Bahamut, the Platinum Dragon, comes swooping in and attacks Tiamat, his sister. In the final moments, in a combined power between all of the Glorious Bastards, Bahamut and Atlasia activate the legendary and now reforged Charm of Dominion, banishing Tiamat back to her rightful prison in the Nine Hills. Trixie is revived by the radiant magic as many of the deities help prepare our heroes for their final stand against Metaseiulus, empowering them and renewing them for what final fight is left to come. Greater still, however, is the impending threat of an even more powerful entity as our heroes race towards the pinnacle of the Dark Citadel Tower. Kuelias rejoins the party after helping Francis recover, finding the rest of his companions oddly rejuvenated, just like himself, and on an empty battlefield. What he later finds out was that the party faced off against Tiamat with the help of Bahamut, but what awaits them at the pinnacle of the Dark Citadel is likely worse. Our heroes, now reunited, begin to climb the last portion of the ever-tall Dark Tower. They encounter a number of almost deadly traps along the way, saved only by healing magic and the careful eye of Philaria and her ability to manipulate time. And Trixie, who can see these traps invisible with her oculi nictus. But upon arriving at the top of the spot, they find something entirely unexpected. Mr. C, standing in tattered robes. They were sure they killed him. Raedrum watched him get obliterated by a black hole. But here he stands nonetheless. His skin sizzles away. What is left behind comes as a shocking revelation to our group of adventurers. No one foresaw this coming. They discover that Metaseiulus has been in disguise as Mr. C, and some even speculate that Mr. C was just an alias for the dark deity. Metaseiulus, now revealed, begins to speak, an epic, dramatic monologue, characteristic of any boss fight. I am the unspoken one. For millennia, I have pulled strings, orchestrated catastrophes. I have built up empires and torn them down. I have operated in the shadows. You will not, nor will anyone else, stand in my way. You are merely pawns in an equation amounting to worthlessness, to nothing. Oh, how you have struggled to become something more than just a puppet. But I am the puppeteer. For too long has this world thrived on believing in an order, a balance. Too long has it beckoned me to run my claws across it and uproot it all. I shall reduce this world to nothing. I shall be the end that the multiverse cries out for, that it deserves, fulfilling my birthright. Did the other gods tell you that you were chosen? That your destiny was to defeat me? How many times have they lied to you? They don't choose heroes. They choose people to die in their place. The only way to save this world is to end it and start over. Even they couldn't stop me long ago, so how will you puny mortals ever come close to doing any better? I am the antithesis of creation. I am your undoing. I am the undoing of it all. And you have come to witness the liberation. Try your hardest to interfere with my plans, but brace yourself for the fire that erupts from my hand. Nothing you can do will save you or anyone else. Let the world see your end as a sign of their impending doom, the last fractal of hope snuffed out like a candle in the night. And after that, the world shall burn. An explosion of exposition like that. Our heroes race into battle against their final foe. But the battle takes a dastardly turn early on, when the deity temporarily blocks and deactivates all magical items. Left weakened, though, Metaseiulus deals heavy blows to our heroes. However, With quick thinking and a little temporal stretching, our heroes regain their magical items, refocusing their strengths to target the one enemy they have left. A plan is thrown into motion as Philaria summons a deactivated arc supercannon. Though the cannon is summoned in an inert state, Trixie just so happened to have collected a few Arcanitech gemstones along the way up the tower, and successfully installs them, activating the cannon. With the right timing and positioning, a charge blast was fired into Metaseiulus. And despite surviving, Philaria was able to manipulate time and reload the cannon again. Trixie fires the cannon a second time, critically hitting the Dark Deity, shooting a supercharged blast across the battle arena, slaying Metaseiulus. Unfortunately, Francis, the giant badger companion of Kuelias and party favorite giant badger, of course, was caught in the crossfire and was atomized by the electric charge. Expecting Metaseiulus dead, they learned that he somehow survived, shedding his humanoid form and unleashing a titanic entity in his place. The Dark Tower now buckles under the weight of this titan, collapsing on itself, sending our heroes falling from a great height, with a new and dire situation at hand. As the Dark Citadel Tower collapses, our heroes are thrown off the pinnacle and left to fall a mile in height, a fall surely not survivable. However, Trixie is able to use magic to limit the impact of the crash. Greater still, however, is the rubble and chunks of stone that scatter across the citadel, covering our heroes. They pull themselves from rock and ruin, and our party now sees the Titan Metaseiulus, where the majority of the Dark Citadel Tower once stood. Our party finds themselves separated, each on different sides of the deity, struggling to find their companions and also needing to still make their stand against Metaseiulus, who is not dead and very much alive. Unable to locate Atlasia or Detective Dexter in the time being, the remainder of our party have no choice but to search for them later. Matters only worsen, however, when the bipedal titan, appearing like a dark and empowered supersized dragonborn, begins to tear holes in space and time, allowing the remaining rebellious deities to return to the world. Lolth, Torog, Grumsh, Bane, Vecna, and Asmodeus. A revitalization of an age-old battle fought in the Centrum Wars. The greatest enemies of this world now all returned at the same time. The allied Protectorum gods, the deities of the glorious bastards, flock towards their great foes of old. But Metaseiulus continues his rampage through the citadel and moves towards the Dark Citadel walls. Standing in his way, the small but mighty glorious bastards target the dark entity in desperate hope that it's not too late. And outside the city, divine war is underway. But inside remains the flicker of hope that Metaseiulus promised to snuff out. Philaria calls upon Ephraim and the remaining airships to come to their aid, the ones that survived from Nexus City, that escaped with those civilians. But that journey into the Citadel, though dangerous, will also take a quite deal of time. On the battlefield of enormous proportions, the battle between the Glorious Bastards and Metaseiulus must rage on in the meantime. Powerful magic at play between the innate entity of Metaseiulus and the copied arcane signatures of a few party members, the endless god Dacone, and now god of the stars, Aneris. Metaseiulus causes asteroids to fall upon the citadel. Gigantic explosions of fury and energy erupt across the battlefield, the detonations destroying allies and enemy forces alike. Caught in this mix are a number of allies of the Glorious Bastards, but they have not yet seen the full devastation. But also in the Citadel, Nyx, Philaria, and Trixie are also caught in a blast. And Philaria and Nyx are barely able to withstand the powerful explosion, but Trixie is unfortunately not so lucky. Atomized, disintegrated by this meteor, leaving nothing behind but flakes of ash and a few magical items and the two armament of creations that she was holding on to. On the opposite side of the battlefield, Urugar and Atlasia, who is now recovered from the fall and pulled herself from the rubble, along with Raedrum, Kuelias, and the future version of Philaria, work to hold out against the Titan. In the distance, looking towards their allied gods, Our heroes do not see them, and Metaseiulus taunts them for it. Where are your gods now? And that is a good question. Where did they go? But their attention is quickly brought back to Metaseiulus and their presumable impending demise. However, the tides of battle turn as 4 of the Ilethian airships cruise into the citadel, coming to the aid of our heroes. Using the Arcanitech weaponry on board, our heroes work to alter and fire various magical energies at Metaseiulus. But he retaliates, crushing one of the ships in his jaws, summoning another poisonous cloud into the other airship, creating an abrupt end to a number of civilians on board and the few warriors and guards picked up along the way. But, summoning the strength to fire one more shot, even from inside the poison cloud, Urugar activates a cannon and delivers the final blow to the Titan Metaseiulus. As it falls to the ground, Urugar tells Metaseiulus that he is unworthy to be slain by Urugar Beast Slayer, and Urugar walks away. The sound of conflict and turmoil inside the citadel comes to an abrupt halt. A silence comes over the field. But as Kuelias watches, after 20 or 30 seconds, the Titan's claws twitch, producing 3 metallic scales and holding them skyward. A deep chuckle emanates from the Titan. I told you, and I don't like to repeat myself. You cannot stop me. And he explodes, vanishing, the entire Titan gone in an instant. But as our heroes look towards the darkened skies, the intensifying thunderstorm overhead, the movement in the clouds, they know this isn't over yet. Able to find, through luck or maybe fate, Detective Dexter and pull him from the rebel, who was buried alive, but still alive, barely. They send Ephraim and the remaining 2 airships to locate Urugar, who walked off. Presumably, he's still alive, but they don't know, and they're worried. The Spelljammer ship, piloted by Flint and commanded by Captain Leary von Reich, arrives to help out. Falaria uses Wish to resurrect Trixie, and Trixie's soul rejoins the fight. And as our heroes prepare for the fight they know is coming, they also know time is running out. However, they find an interesting way to use an elixir of long rest more than once by manipulating time with chronergy magic. The Spelljammer leaves our heroes at the base of a swirling superstorm to engage in their final battle against Metaseiulus. An old friend, now turned enemy against Rayudrim, attempts to kill him, Zuzar Longfellow, the keeper of the Spelljammer, a prediction that Rayudrim knew was coming. But Rayudrim easily enough survives, and the crew of the Spelljammer restrains Zuzar, to be dealt with at a later time. Urugar, who is still alive, returned by Ephraim and the airships. The rest of the party healed up enough to take on Metaseiulus. A final battle awaits them. His spiraling, elongated, snake-like body coils from the sky over the citadel, launching dark shadows, shrapnel scales, and powerful attacks. Our party has some tricks of their own. Urugar throws Trixie and Dexter and Rayudrim onto higher parts of the gigantic body of Metaseiulus. Nyx, Rayudrim, Dexter, Valaria, and Trixie use powerful spells to mitigate damage to our heroes, but also take to the offensive. Atlasia and Kuelias channel the power of divine energy, praying for intervention. As Atlasia and Kuelias look overhead, a shimmer of golden energy above the clouds as Bahamut swoops over, granting a divine intervention. It works. Also, Kuelias follows a lead from Melora to locate a weakness of this large dragon, while Atlasia continues to heal her teammates. Urugar, despite undergoing a few more psychic splits, also joins in on the offensive attacks. Kuelias locates a weak point in the upper chest of this enormous-sized deity. Dexter uses Wish to teleport our heroes to that point, much closer to the vulnerable location, allowing our heroes to now enter a full frontal assault and concentrate their energy and their firepower into one location. Though much harder to hit, the hits that land deal a substantial increase of force and damage. When finally bloodied, Metaseiulus attempts to turn the tide back his way in this final battle, using 10th level spells, using stolen magic from both Dacone and Daenerys to destroy our heroes, and also ones that he's learned along his own journey. Dexter, unfortunately, is reduced to atoms by a supernova explosion, making a heroic sacrifice to get the party to the key location, but paying the ultimate price for it. For the rest of our heroes who pick up the torch, Metaseiulus damages them severely through this supernova, blinding most of them, but they resolve to rely on each other, not by sight, but by trust in their team, trust in each other. Despite many not being able to see and many others severely injured, our heroes push forth, continuing the fight. Falaria gives them the upper hand once again when she uses Wish to give the glorious bastards a long rest instantly. Healing most of our heroes with revitalizing energy, they can continue to focus their strengths on stopping Metaseiulus for good, before his destruction and havoc end the world as they know it. Metaseiulus goes to such great lengths as to even temporarily sunder the tapestry, disabling all of the arcane arts for a time. But even that does not fully stop our heroes. As if some other entity caused magic to return to them earlier than Metaseiulus expected, the tapestry reestablishes itself almost as quickly as it left. Nyx, just having been a blue dragon, now channels a powerful blast of lightning directly where it counts, filling Metaseiulus with an overage of energy as Nyx utters a single word and power of his goddess, Shabengus. Confused, Metaseiulus reels back in pain and explodes from the inside, leaving nothing but dust behind. The explosion launches 3 meteor-like objects across the skies of Ilethia, vanishing from view. Catching her friends before they fall to their ultimate death, Trixie casts Featherfall, safely returning our heroes to the ground. And an ominous voice sources from the shadows themselves, even though there is no body left of Metaseiulus. I will return. The intense storm breaks overhead. The battle is won. But in that moment, 3 mind flayers teleport in, scooping up a jar of the ashes of Metaseiulus, and then vanish immediately after. Who knows if it was to save or imprison, for better or worse. But what our heroes do know is that they have saved the day. They have saved the world. They've won. And what comes next? Well, I suppose we'll just have to hear it from the glorious bastards.